Hey YouTube, it's GV Lone Guy. It's April 15th, 2013, and I've got to do a sort of a summary reporting here on the bombings that took place today in Boston, at the Boston Marathon, right at the finish line. So I've got quite a bit of video here. I'm just going to play through some of it. I might comment here and there. So here you go.
We still do not know who did this or why. And people shouldn't jump to conclusions before we have all the facts. But make no mistake, we will get to the bottom of this. And we will find out who did this. We'll find out why they did this. Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice.
Any responsible groups, okay.
So I went across the street and tried to help.
You ran to the scene because you're a surgeon.
Yeah.
What was that scene like when you got there?
It looked like an IED from Afghanistan. I mean, there was one guy lying there with his leg blown off at his thigh. There's another one with a foot blown off. There was the worst one was a little boy whose mother was holding on to him, but he was obviously expired.
That is apparently the 8-year-old boy that was among the deceased.
They said they were doing drills this morning for the same exact thing that happened on BostonGlobe.com. Now, were you guys given any warning ahead of time of this taking place?
As I said earlier, there was no specific intelligence. We certainly increase posture around a big event like this. All of those things happened in preparation for this event, but there was no specific intelligence that anything was going to happen.
Wait a second. I thought they had planned a drill on what was called a controlled explosion drill today. So they had a lot of people there for that purpose. That's what I understand.
So there are bomb designs, particularly for Al-Qaeda and its affiliates. There are bomb designs that we learn about through intelligence that we know they use and teach in the terrorist training camps in the Arabian Peninsula and in the Afghanistan-Pakistan region. And so if the bomb matches precisely the bomb design that we know, it tells you something about the perpetrator. That's just, though, one piece of a mosaic of intelligence that will come into place. At this stage in the game, there's really, at least as far as we can tell, no information about who might have done this and no reason to conclude that it is yet of Islamist origin. There are many other places where that could come. There will be many people who want to leap to that conclusion.
Okay, well, interesting. All right. Here's a little bit of live video, and I'll comment at the end.
The pictures we're watching over and over again, is that the experience you went through? Did it feel like that?
It's chilling to watch because, you know, to see those people, you know, approaching the finish line, it's an incredibly joyous moment. You know, you've been out there for 3 or 4 hours, you've run 26.2 miles, you're almost at the finish line, and to see them sort of knocked off their feet or off their stride is, for a runner, is really chilling. On Patriots Day, the city is closed. The city comes out for this marathon like you wouldn't believe. So whoever did this really hit a special target and knew what they were attacking.
Doctors are now pulling ball bearings out of people's legs in the ER, and that would suggest that the shrapnel, a lot of it came from the bomb itself and was designed to come that way. So you have 132 that are in hospitals. My guess is there may be even more people who are injured, not requiring hospitalization. 17 of those who are in the hospitals right now are in critical condition, Aaron. And one more thing, Aaron, I'll point out, if you look at that video again, you look in between, between these two buildings, it's almost like a cavernous type thing. Right. And as a result, you might have concussive injuries to people's heads, just like you would on a battlefield.
One, the caution being publicly issued by law enforcement agencies, just a statement released by the FBI in Boston, which says the situation remains fluid and it remains too early to establish the cause and motivation. Note that, the cause and motivation. Let me go through my latest information from a number of state and city law enforcement officials and government officials in Massachusetts. One, as you noted a bit earlier, a state law enforcement source confirms to us that an 8-year-old boy was among those killed today. 2 killed so far. We know that is confirmed too. 2 killed, and as you know, the number of injuries now rising well above 100, 130 or so as we continue to get the latest information. You heard Chairman McFall told you just a few moments ago he knew about one person of interest who was being questioned. I'm told by sources there have been several, quote, persons of interest, but this source cautioned against overreading this, said it's a routine investigative tactic. Somebody comes to the hospital with a certain type of burns. Somebody is seen in a situation near a security barrier. They might be questioned. As of just a few moments ago, Aaron, I was told, yes, several persons of interest have been questioned, but no suspect officially as of about 7:15 tonight here in the East anyway. This source, one of them, confirmed the upgraded security screenings at Boston Logan Airport and other airports in the region as well, and said this was for by the FBI in conjunction with state and local police in that area. And it's interesting, both sources, this is a city official and a state official, used the word crude to describe the bombs and said they already have not only the publicly video we have seen, but some of the preliminary video. There's so many video cameras in that area.
Whoa! Something just blew up at... Run! Go!
Breaking news on RT. Blasts in Boston. Twin explosions target the finish line of the city's marathon. At least 3 are killed and the whole nation is put on terror alert. If confirmed, it will be the first major terror attack in the U.S. since 9/11.
Far, Bill, is that according to the New York Post, 12 of the runners that were participating in this marathon in Boston are confirmed to have lost their lives in this explosion, as you said, that went off near the. From what we know, from what officials are saying, it was a series of 2 explosions. One went off, and about 15 to 20 seconds later, the second one detonated. We saw images of the shrapnel coming apart and hitting one of the runners in his leg, and he went down. After that, the images that unfolded of the scene are extremely sad, extremely horrifying. You saw many people running for cover. There were white clouds of smoke filling the air. Windows of several storefronts were blown out. Video also showing the competitors and the race organizers crying as they were fleeing the chaotic scene. Entire crowd that was, in the center of Boston. We have to remember this is a marathon involving some 27,000 runners. In addition to those people, there were tens of thousands in this city cheering them on. There were also thousands of police officers, emergency workers out on this scene, and also TV crews out there covering this event. We've also found out that the Boston Police Department did detonate a 3rd explosive that they found. At this point, an investigation is ongoing, but many witness accounts indicate that there were dozens that were reportedly taken away from the scene, rushed to hospitals with very severe.
Apparently, that's like 138 now being reported at the hospitals.
Severe injuries. There have been some witnesses that said that this man that I listened to, saw someone else that was hurt lose a limb. Of course, it is hard for us to verify and confirm every single thing that is being said right now, because it is a very chaotic scene, but a very concerning scene. I could tell you this is the story that is now dominating every news channel in the United States. And in response to what took place in Boston, the New York City Police Department is immediately stepping up its security efforts here in New York City. According to NYPD spokesperson, the counterterrorism forces for the New York City Police Department is now.
I hate to say it, but this kind of reminds me of what Israel has been going through for years. In fact, we used to say that after 9/11, it became clear that we lost our safety and security, that there would be a real possibility that someday we would see these kind of explosions in the streets in America. Well, now we're seeing it. As of April 15th, 2013, we've got scenes of carnage in the streets with the ball bearing, apparently the ball bearings being packed into the bombs so they do maximum injury, that type of stuff. It's like, well, now that this has happened, this has sort of broken new ground for us. This is not the World Trade Center, a gigantic public building. This is more like, almost like a small, you used to hear about quite a few bombings going on in Israel, in the like the nightclubs or the restaurants, just, places. So now that this has taken place at the Boston Marathon at the finish line right there, does that mean we've got a whole new level of things to be worried about, and or levels of new security to be put upon us? Maybe they're going to have to fill the highways and byways in the United States with TSA agents to check all of our vehicles for bombs now as we travel, or documents, or whatever. I don't know, but this strikes me as something new. This is a new thing here today. Our hearts go out to all of you. It's just terrible news to see all this. And the coming days, we'll just have to see what develops. But this is obviously a terrible tragedy, and a day that we will all remember.
We will get to the bottom of this, and we will find out who did this. We'll find out why they did this. Any responsible individuals, any responsible groups will feel the full weight of justice.
Any responsible groups, okay.
So I went across the street and tried to help.
You ran to the scene because you're a surgeon?
Yeah.
The bombings that took place today in Boston, at the Boston Marathon, right at the finish line. So I've got quite a bit of video here. I'm just going to play through some of it. I might comment here and there. So here you go.
We still do not know who did this or why. And people shouldn't jump to conclusions before we have all the facts. But make no mistake.
What was that scene like when you got there?
It looked like an IED from Afghanistan. I mean, there was one guy lying there with his leg blown off at his thigh. There's another one with a foot blown off. There was the worst one was a little boy whose mother was holding on to him, but he was obviously expired.
That is apparently the 8-year-old boy that was among the deceased.
They said they were doing drills this morning for the same exact thing that happened on BostonGlobe.com. Now, were you guys given any warning ahead of time of this taking place?
As I said earlier, there was no specific intelligence. We certainly increase posture around a big event like this. All of those things happened in preparation for this event, but there was no specific intelligence that anything was going to happen.
Wait a second. I thought they had... Hey YouTube, it's GV Lone Guy. It's April 15th, 2013, and I've got to do a sort of a summary reporting here on the